Beedle-dum-dum, beedle-dum-dum, beedle-dum-dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover.
Third or fourth grade, when this thing started, well, when I remember it starting anyway, and there were two aspects of it that were very striking. One of them was that we had to, when the alarm sounded, or the alert, whatever it was, I don't remember whether it was a siren or anything like that, we were taught to crouch under the desks in some kind of a posture to cover your head. And we thought that it didn't really make any sense, but it seemed like a good thing to do rather than just sit there and wait for the ceiling to fall on your head. So we were going to have dog tags. And my mother was very active in the PTA. In fact, at some point she was even president of it. I don't remember the chronology. And the PTA was enlisted to help make this happen. So they put in the teacher's dining room this machine that made dog tags. Maybe there were two of them, actually. And they were kind of typewriters that, instead of typing on a piece of paper, stamped the letters into this piece of metal, and they made an unholy racket. The women, somewhat incongruously, as I said, were located in this room doing this thing, and they'd be typing like back, 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 loud, and it would echo down the halls. So we'd be in our classroom 3-4 doors away, and we would hear this like the, like the footsteps of doom. That's what it sounded like. And eventually, we got these dog tags, which we then had to wear day and night. And so you would go to bed at night with this thing around your neck thinking, well, am I going to just be a sack of garbage in the morning? And
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
If the people who were running the operation were able, on the one hand, to devise a weapon that could pulverize millions and millions of people in an instant, and then, at the same time, propose to those putative victims that they could protect themselves from this by hiding under a wooden desk. When at the same time we were watching on television these exhibits of what these bombs could do, they would blow away whole cities, that there was something terribly the matter. That we weren't, clearly we were being lied to. But my theory is that the people who made the radical 60s were the same people who hid under the desks. I don't think that skepticism has actually died down.
There were things with bomb shelters and air raid drills and stuff like that, like particularly when I was younger, where there were, you're supposed to spot planes and this and that, kind of an aftermath of World War II. And there were people, individual people that had bomb shelters, and instructions for putting things together, stuff like that. But again, very abstract. There wasn't anything that anybody that I knew was doing, or anything we were aware of, although you might know or see signs for bomb shelters here or there or wherever. But one of the biggest things that I was aware of was the fact that in 1957-58 with Sputnik and the whole space race thing started, there was a huge attempt by the government to get people interested in math and science, because they wanted to really, everybody felt we were trailing the Russians at that point, who in the early 50s, had stolen the secrets to the A-bomb, You know, so all of a sudden they were a big competitor and a threat, you know, where before we were the only ones that had the weapons. And then really until the Cuban Missile Crisis, which was in 1962, 63, I think, that was the first time, because it was in Cuba, it was right offshore. There were missiles at that point that they had, that people really got scared and thought that this is something that would really directly affect our country, you know, in cities that could actually be targets. It's interesting, and in terms of from that period to now, the biggest difference is we were dealing with not individuals who could threaten us, but countries that could threaten us. So it was like more defined, and also we and basically the Russians were the only people who had nuclear weapons. It was now you have India and Pakistan and, you know, England and France and Israel and, you know, a whole bunch of other places that, you know, since acquired them.
Remember what to do, friends. Now tell me right out loud. What are you supposed to do when you see the flash?
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit. Make a plan.
Well, after September 11th, my mother really did prepare backpacks. Like, because there were all directions in all the newspapers about preparing backpacks, and we had a plan, like, you know, where we should go if something happened, where we would all meet up. And the backpacks had first aid, and bottles of water, and, like, granola bars and stuff in them. So in that sense, it was serious. But I think at this point, and I'm saying this sitting talking to you with a cup of hot tea in, like, a Tibetan restaurant, but right now I would say I would take 30 seconds to kiss my ass goodbye.
They call it the Homeland Security Advisory System. It started in 2002. The Bush administration used it to keep everyone up to date on the potential for terrorist attacks, sort of the visual version of an air raid siren. For the record, right now Homeland Security puts the national threat level at yellow, meaning a significant risk of terrorist attacks. Some critics say the system doesn't work, as well as it should anyway, and now the government is planning to review it and perhaps change it.
I know that they existed, but what I really remember is people thinking they were funny, and there was like an SNL skit about somebody wearing a tie to signify what the color code of the day was. It must have been the guy. They were saying that the head of Homeland Security was going to wear a color-coded tie to match the Homeland Security color code of the day for the security threat. So, yeah, I definitely remember them, and I think maybe for about a week after September 11th, when everybody was all caught up in the fervor of it, I took them seriously, and then after that I thought it was a joke, just like everybody else did. Brooklyn Tech, which was built in the 1930s, I guess, it's built like a square, and it was actually supposedly built to be a bomb shelter in and of itself, without going into the basement. So they would do these drills with us, where you'd leave the class, and you'd go, so all the windows were on the outer rim of the school, but on the inner rim of the school, there was nothing but solid walls, and they'd make you go out into the hallway and put your head against, your face against the wall, and put your elbows up like that, behind your head, and they said that if there was a bomb, that's what we were all going to do, if there was another terrorist attack, because the windows were made of plastic at that point, and they were like, hopefully, because we're all in the center of the building, you know, we'd be okay. But I was always like, well, what if the whole building falls down? Yeah, so I mean, if it actually happened, I'm sure I would try my best to follow those dumbass directions. I sort of came of age in the time of September 11th, and I currently work for the Fulbright exchange program across the street from the United Nations. And when you start working for them, what they do is they give you a training, and part of the pamphlet is evacuation procedures under different circumstances. And it was the first time, and I'm someone who saw September 11th, the first time that anybody had ever said to me, this is what you do if there's a dirty bomb. That was the first time where it really clicked that some guy could find directions on the internet and just a little bit of I don't know, nuclear material, and walk over to 46th Street and First Avenue and like blow up his briefcase or something like that. And they have all sorts of directions about what you should do with your clothing and not putting your fingers in your mouth. So like really, detailed directions about what to do with that. And that's really the first time since I was 13 that I thought about an atomic bomb being like a possibility. I'm much more scared of a guy opening fire or like coming with like a blade onto the subway.
Beedle-dum-dum, beedle-dum-dum, beedle-dum-dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do.